Streets of Rage 4 is the long-awaited return of one of Sega's most beloved franchises, and aims to provide a fresh lick of paint on an old genre. The development team of Dotemu, Lizard Cube and Guard Crush Games strike an interesting balance of reverence to the source material alongside small and often welcome additions and changes to the format to make it feel more compatible with modern games and playstyles. That said, it reaffirms some well-worn principles of enemy AI design and behaviour that aspiring developers should take note of. I'm Tommy Thompson, and in this episode of Smoke and Mirrors, let's explore the enemy archetypes, attack patterns and spatial coordination of the enemy AI in Streets of Rage 4. The idea of how enemy characters move around a space and present interesting and dynamic puzzles is an important one that becomes a little harder to read in more modern games, but it's still there, ranging from the combat in the Batman Arkham series and Assassin's Creed to the more modern Doom games, all of which utilise spatial coordination and strict rules on who can attack the player and when. In these 3D environments, some of that information gets lost, based largely on the viewport, but in Streets of Rage and games of its ilk, all of that information is right there in front of you on a single screen. Who's lining up to attack, who's going to be a threat in a moment, and where should you be positioning yourself within the world. This is then tied into the makeup of enemies and how they attack, be it yellow signals sliding your feet out from under you, the Galcias with their clumsy knife attacks, or the riders dashing headbutts and pile drivers. I think it's worth taking a moment to analyse because it's the balance of these elements that make Streets of Rage work. If all of these enemies ganged up on you at once or hovered close to you to take cheap shots at all times, then the gameplay would feel stifling, overwhelming and ultimately rather unfair. But the fairly broad and occasionally rapid movement of characters also adds to the tension and the need to reprioritise targets in between punches. The flow of a battle can completely change if one stray punch or kick connects, and you suddenly go from being on top of the situation to losing a large portion of your health bar, or needing to pull out a super move in order to clear the space. Streets of Rage is a game about putting you in short, immediate combat puzzles with many right and wrong answers, and it's up to you through memorisation of what each puzzle entails, be it the enemy archetypes and their behaviour alongside environmental features, to optimise solving these puzzles as you make your way through each stage. Sure, some of these sequences can feel more or less harsh than others, some of them even feel a little cheap, but that's part of the flow of the game to put you in situations that feel stacked against you, with heavy archetypes such as Goro and the Commissioner having fairly small windows of vulnerability, or Big Ben bouncing around the map and proving hard to get close to deliver some damage. It's a series that openly advocates for replaying the game to improve your mastery of each sequence, plus as each difficulty increases health bars, damage values and the scale of enemies, knowing where you need to be and when helps players fight their way through the streets one screen at a time. This isn't to say that Streets of Rage's enemy behaviours are perfect by any stretch. They can be annoying, a pain to get a hold of, or just overwhelming at times. Though equally, they're also pretty dumb, not recognising the environmental dangers around them and allowing you to capitalise on them. This is very much part of the franchise's DNA, in that you feel smarter than your opponents, you just need to find the angle you need and exploit it to take them down. And while it isn't a one-to-one mapping to its origins, I think that's one of the most satisfying elements of Streets of Rage 4, in that it successfully reproduces them to a point that it feels as close as it could be without compromise. This isn't an easy thing to get right, especially something like this that I've just spent 2 or 3 minutes discussing in rather vague terms. But what's critical is that it feels right. Like I said, there are already so many changes to the franchise happening here, be it small mechanical tweaks or additions, or the rather significant graphical overhaul and tweaks to aesthetic. But I think that's the one thing that's actually the most important. It might not look like older Streets of Rage games, but if it doesn't still retain that feeling, then the whole thing just wouldn't work. As I wrap up this episode of Smoke and Mirrors, it's the thing I would ensure any and all game devs take away from Streets of Rage 4. The balance of enemy movement, attack timing and enemy diversity is what makes this series work. If you strip that away, the game would be much less interesting to play and ultimately a lot more stressful and unsatisfying. Thanks for watching this episode. Do let me know your thoughts on Streets of Rage 4. I'm actually really happy with how much I've enjoyed this game in recent weeks, given I figured we'd never see another entry in this franchise. That said, if you are a fan of this type of game and are looking for more, I would be remiss not to mention Raging Justice, released in 2018, which is on Steam, PS4, Xbox and Switch. It's an homage to classic beat-em-ups, developed by a very small team, and I had the pleasure of meeting developers making games and playing early builds a few years ago while showing sure footing at festivals. It's a lot of fun, you should check it out. Don't forget you can watch Smoke and Mirrors early on Patreon and support AI in games in the process. Have a good one folks, and I'll be back.